All right, good afternoon. Thank you for returning with us this afternoon to the point at which we transition a bit from the early history of the OpenCourseWare movement to adopters that began the OpenCourseWare movement on a global scale. As we heard this morning, the MIT group decided that they would start it and thought it would basically stay at MIT for a considerable period of time, and we're quite surprised when a number of institutions around the world joined the idea very quickly and began to incorporate it into their own institutions. And this resulted in a group in 2005 coming together to decide to form the OpenCourseWare Consortium. So this afternoon we have representatives from those groups here to present a little bit about why they thought OpenCourseWare was such a great idea and what they've done with it since. So first we have Sukan Kanchanarak from Johns Hopkins School of Public Health, Bloomberg School of Public Health, followed by Kevin Barry from the University of Notre Dame, and Mary Lee from Tufts University, Pedro Aranzadi from Universia, Yoshimi Fukuhara from Japan OpenCourseWare, and finally, Chet Brzezinski from the China Open Resources for Education. So please, Sukan.
So thank you. And by the way, the order here, I think it's just random, right? There is no order. That's why we are coming up here. I just happened to draw this drawer and be the first to come up here. And thank you for having me here to give you a share of what we are doing with our OpenCourseWare. So first of all, Johns Hopkins, I don't know how many of you know where we are. Do you know where we are? Yes, a few. We're in Baltimore, Maryland, near the Washington, D.C., the capital of this country. That's where we are. But we are, let me show you. Johns Hopkins School of Public Health, this is not the entire university. This is just the School of Public Health that adopted OpenCourseWare as one of the 5-6 early adopters. It was founded in 1916. And so that means we're about 95 years old. In 5 years, we will be 100 years old, and I'm sure we'll be doing some celebration then. But public health, Johns Hopkins School of Public Health is a post-baccalaureate school. So that means we only offer master and doctoral degrees. We have about 500 full-time and 600 part-time faculty, and then a student body of about 2,000. Most of our students are global, from about 80 or more countries. And we are consistently rated as #1 in the School of Public Health by the U.S. News and World Report. So looking at our mission, Johns Hopkins School of Public Health is dedicated to the education of a diverse group of research scientists and public health professionals. So you see the keywords here is education. It's a process linked to the discovery and application of new knowledge, and through this activity to the improvement of health and prevention of disease and disability around the world. So what does OpenCourseWare help us with the mission of our school? And let's start with how OpenCourseWare started with us at Johns Hopkins. So it started in 2004. That's when Anne Margulis, who is the executive director of OpenCourseWare at that time, stopped by and met with our deans and other administrators in the school. And she did a very good job, convinced us and explained to us what OpenCourseWare is all about. But however, it took about 6 months to get the faculty senates and the faculty body on board. When they give us the go-ahead, we go ahead and try a pilot project. Thanks to Mike Smith and Kathy Casley from the Hewlett Foundation, we got the funding to start a pilot project for 1 year, starting somewhere in the middle of 2004. And at the end of that 1 year project, we received additional 3 years of funding from the Hewlett Foundation to continue the process. And you look at the graph here. We have been steadily growing the number of courses at the school. At this point, we get to about 100 courses in the OpenCourseWare website. Of note in this growth is the development of this OCW image library. It's one of the things that we're quite proud of. during the process of putting this OpenCourseWare site together, we end up creating a large number of images when we're dealing with these copyright issues. And all those images now got put together into this library that can be used by anybody using the Creative Commons license. At this point, we are in the process of redesigning the Johns Hopkins School of Public Health OpenCourseWare website, and hopefully that we will have something in the near future. So how are we doing with our model of OpenCourseWare? Really, we, as a small school and small number of courses, we have a very small staff when we work with our OpenCourseWare. Starting out with the commitment, we have a very strong support from our dean. Picture here is our senior associate dean for academic affairs, Dr. James Yeager. Strong supporter, strong advocate of OpenCourseWare, make sure that we can sustain our operation and provide the support from the general fund for us to do the project. It's fortunate for us to have OpenCourseWare housed in our Center for Teaching and Learning with Technology, because then we can utilize the resources that we have from the center, both the web programmers, the graphic illustrators, and other people to allow us to do things that are necessary to make the site happen. I happen to be the director for the Center for Teaching and Learning with Technology. My job is a little bit quite easy. Just get a chance to come out here, meet with people to find out what happened, and then go back there. But the key person that ended up doing most of the work is Ira Goodings, who is the other person here in the picture. He is the key person that actually get to work with the faculty, get to scrub the materials, and get to publish the content onto the site. So for us, our model is quite small, with only very few people to make this kind of thing happen. How did this meet with the mission of the school? If you look at this slide, you see from the left, we have academic degrees. Well, that's what most institutions end up doing, is offer either academic degrees or certificates. That's the idea, is how we're going to disseminate the education throughout the world. We also have continuing education. Now, the difference in the model here is, hey, for the academic degrees and certificate, the students would have ability to pay the tuition. Few of them who can pay the tuition, who want the information in depth, do come to the school and take all those academic degrees. Continuing education, on the other hand, are for those people that pay nominal fee, or maybe it's going to be free for them to come and get some of the content in certain areas. What happened to the rest? In order for us to complete the mission, the educational mission at the school, we are fortunate to have OpenCourseWare. That completes the whole picture, how we disseminate the educational content to the world. Here, with open education and OpenCourseWare, we can now reach all the scientists, all the public health professionals, and independent learners around the world. We are at the point that we can put out the content, but what's next? I think that's where we all are at this point in time. How can we make sure that the content get to all those independent learners, public health practitioners, and they can learn as well as other people who actually come and get the academic credits? But here, this is what OCW means to us, to be able to complete that mission. If you just left out the right bar, something is missing. For us, something is missing because the content is sitting there and you do not reach out to the entire world. So here, our picture is complete. I just want to leave you with two slides. These are just quotes from some of the users that accessed our content. How's my time? So in the transition to the next person, I'm just going to let you take a look at two of these quotes and the next slides. And we are grateful to be part of the OpenCourseWare and OpenCourseWare Consortium. So I'd like to thank you, the MIT OpenCourseWare, from Ann Margulis, Steve Carson, Cease, Lindsay. All of you actually help us get our Johns Hopkins School of Public Health OpenCourseWare started when we came here in 2005, meeting with you and then trying to put our site together. So thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Barry from the University of Notre Dame, and you'll hear a similar story, I think. I also can thank the same people, Anne and John Paul, whose last name I don't remember who came. I believe John Paul was a Notre Dame alum, which may have been why we were on the list of potential collaborators. The Hewlett Foundation was important for us. Our focus for the years when the Hewlett Foundation was important was to focus on courses involving the human condition. So we were looking at providing courses that focused on those areas that were important to Notre Dame and that fit with our mission. And I'll just let you read those things for a little bit of the history of the university. So 1842 founded. Our next big anniversary is actually next year. We'll celebrate 40 years of women attending the University of Notre Dame. So that's a big thing. And surprisingly, as I've been looking at that history, it's more common than I had expected. That I thought of Notre Dame being somewhat unique in allowing the entry of women in that time frame, but many universities shifted from being male-only to also admitting women in the 60s and 70s. The mission is a key piece to why we wanted to be involved in this. So this idea of creating a sense of human solidarity, concern for the common good. We feel like that by putting this information in an open environment, we are contributing in that way and helping to advance knowledge, and at Notre Dame also with that knowledge put in the Catholic context, especially for those courses that deal with the human condition. So some of the things that have happened over those times, everyone likes to talk about Father Newland at Notre Dame, who was at least is one of the people who gets credit for the invention of synthetic rubber. So there's some interesting historical things that have happened till then. We were completely governed by priests until the late 60s, and so it was only in the 60s that they added lay members to the board of the university. And then our OCW site launched in September of 2006. So as I mentioned, we're contributing to the common good with this by making these materials available to the world. And I wanted to just mention a few specific courses. One of the things that we found that's been very rewarding is that in the context of events that are happening in the world, we've seen great variations in the traffic associated with the courses that we offer on our site. So these three that I list here in particular, the Creole Language and Culture course was one that after the earthquake in Haiti began to get thousands and thousands of hits a month. And in fact, the instructor who contributed that course decided to make herself available to people that were trying to work with Haitians to help them to learn some basic Creole and be able to work more effectively with the people in Haiti. The Islamic societies in the Middle East, with the events that have recently been happening in Egypt and Syria, has been a course that has seen a huge spike in interest because it talks about cultures in the Middle East, and people are very interested in understanding those types of things better. And then the last one on nuclear warfare, when the tragic earthquake and tsunami happened in Japan, and there began to be news of potential issues with the radiation from the nuclear reactors and how would that spread around the world. The course on nuclear warfare has a significant segment on how radiation can be spread through water and airborne and different things like that. And so that section in particular, it's interesting, in that course, it wasn't just the course in general, but that one specific section of the course began to get a very high amount of traffic. So that's been rewarding because our hope was that we would put things out that people would find useful. And this sort of, I think, connects to the ideas that Tim O'Reilly spoke about this morning of the finding knowledge that answers certain questions. And I think I agree with him that focusing things down is important, or having things with the right kind of meta tagging and being searchable so that if people have a specific question, they can find the answers and the information they're looking for that's related to that one thing that they want to have answered. The other thing that I think is a side benefit, the one that's a true benefit, is helping Notre Dame students. Since the Hewlett Foundation funding, we've broadened our offering of courses, and one of the things we've tried to do is offer courses as open courses that are also courses that meet the core requirements for Notre Dame students. This allows them to use that material while they're in classes, to use that material to investigate classes that they might want to take, and so it has a real local benefit. That's been important for us to try to have some way to sell a local benefit, because, to be honest, we haven't had quite the same strength of support, at least financially. It's been a challenge to keep funding in place so that we can continue to add courses. And so by adding some courses that have a local benefit is an important way to make that something that the university sees as valuable. And another thing that's valuable to the university, as many universities, we are now moving in the direction of trying to have a much more significant global presence. We've recently hired a provost for internationalism, which position did not exist before. And one of the things that the OpenCourseWare participation does is allows Notre Dame to be known as a place other than where American football is played in places around the country. So if people know about University of Notre Dame when I travel around the world, it's frequently for the athletic programs. Or if I say I mention something about Notre Dame, they think I'm talking about a cathedral in France. And so this is something that we want to change, and as the world gets smaller and smaller, it's important for us that Notre Dame is known as the high-level academic institution that it is. The history of us for the OCW participation, as I mentioned already, the launch in 2006. We've participated in many of the global meetings. Significantly this year was possible partly because of being in the U.S. So one of the challenges with funding as you move forward is sometimes traveling to the more distant locations can be a challenge. We now have 48 courses published. So our staff is one person, Kathy Schultz, and she does a tremendous job in recruiting faculty, and she does everything. We use the EduCommons framework that was developed at University of Utah as our framework, and Kathy, with an occasional student worker hired on when things get real busy, handles all the work of everything from copyright clearance to getting material out in the courses and conversion and all those sorts of things. One of the things we're proud of, we made a decision early on that we wanted our courses to be very complete so that we didn't end up having some courses that had a scarcity of material and others that had a lot of material. And when Einstein opened, this is a social learning network site that they have PhDs in the discipline evaluate OpenCourseWare offerings, and then after their screen they decide to allow some of them to be listed on their site and others not. When they last evaluated our courses, we had 42 possible courses that could be on their site. 39 of them were added to their site. One was a course on the Notre Dame honor code, which they felt wasn't appropriate for a worldwide site, and 2 others were in Spanish, and they had no one to rate courses that were in Spanish. So we were really happy that we were able to get all those courses included in their listings. We've also been, one thing that Kathy asked me to mention is we've been happy that we've tried to use other Creative Commons licensed materials in building our courses. And a significant example of that is our Calculus for Business courses that we've added, where the graduate student who built those was able to find applets, interactive Java applets for a large number of the concept in this 2-semester calculus sequence that were Creative Commons licensed, that are now completely integrated and embedded in a course as opposed to just being standalone applets. So it was a nice combination of the OpenCourseWare movement combining with other Creative Commons licensed material to create complete courses. And that is the end of my part of the introduction. I'll turn it over to Mary Lee.
Thank you. I'd like to also add my thanks to the MIT team and also to the Hewlett Foundation that also helped fund our initiative. So just to give you a little background, for those of you that do not know Tufts, we're here in the Boston area. It was established back in 1852 with land donated by Charles Tufts. Folks always ask, where's the name come from? And he had wanted to build this school on one of the highest hills in the Boston area to basically build a light on the hill, and with the idea that the education from this school would actually diffuse as light does. And it was established in a non-sectarian way, and we've been able to carry that tradition all the way through. The student body is about 10,000, with about 12% international students, about 1,200 faculty, 3,000 staff, but we also have over 5,000 clinical faculty who are employed by our affiliated hospitals who help teach our medical students, dental students, and veterinary students. It's a Research One university. Our mission is to address complex challenges through innovative teaching and research. And I wanted to just give you a couple of bullets on what the culture is like so that you understand where OpenCourseWare and open education fits into the culture of the institution. Tufts is a place that really does embrace diversity throughout its learning environment, diversity in all its forms. And we really look for practical visionaries. Where are the people who are creative thinkers, but also who can get things done? We also push trans-institutional collaboration, and that's both across the schools within Tufts University, but also with our partners around the world. And when we think about active citizenship, this is the deep civil engagement that we have with our partners as we work to solve problems with our global community. So when we look at the history of OCW, it really is in a backdrop. When you heard Larry Bacow this morning talk, that was an obvious connection. Here you had someone who was the vice chancellor at MIT when MIT started its OpenCourseWare. At that time, he then became president of Tufts University. So it was a natural place for MIT to start reaching out and asking, would you like to join? And at the time, as Larry mentioned, we had already been doing a lot of open resources work. So those of you who are in the classics, the Perseus Digital Library actually started in the 1980s and is still going very strong. A lot of innovative work around how people can network and use online tools for learning. They are working now on personalized learning, so how can learners online be able to find the things that they need to learn at the time in which they need to learn it, and also the stage of learning that they're at. And it's used not only for subjects, but they're also investigating semantic language learning, so just fascinating work. We had also started the Tufts University Sciences Knowledge Base back in, starting in 1994. And this was a system that started off as a digital library project, became a repository with metadata. So all of the content from our health science schools, medicine, dental medicine, veterinary medicine, nutrition, was collected on one system, all metadata tagged, all in learning objects, all that could be shared, all that could be seen across all the schools. And it was built with all open source software. And if you think back to what was happening in '94, this was pretty early on. So we already had a culture that embraced the use of open software, sharing across the institution, sharing outside the institution. And we also started our Tufts Digital Library project, which is built on Fedora, which is another open source collaborative infrastructure. And so when we were asked to join the OpenCourseWare effort in 2003, it was very easy. It was very consistent with the work that we were already doing, and so we were extremely excited to join. And so we were just very grateful for the generosity of the MIT team. They shared what they learned by working with their faculty, their legal documents, how they dealt with copyright clearance. Because even though we had been delving in open work, we had not been doing work at the scale at which MIT was proposing. And so if you're sharing within the institution, even though we were sharing information across multiple schools within the university and with specific partners outside of the university, that's different than sharing with the world. And so MIT really led the way in that way, and was just so generous in sharing all of their processes with us. So we joined in 2003, and we were able to launch, as I said, with the support of the Hewlett Foundation, we were able to launch Tufts OCW in 2004. And over the last decade, we have launched many other open initiatives. And you're actually the first to hear about it, and we were debating, should we post this or not, because it's purely a pilot website, which we're working on right now. But you can log in, and we'd love to hear your comments. But what we found is that there are just all these different open initiatives that are happening across the university that faculty don't know are happening even within their own schools. And so by collecting them all into this portal, we can more easily share it both with our global audiences, but also just for faculty within Tufts to see what each other are doing. So we'd love you to take a look and comment on that. So just a few lessons in terms of how we felt that OCW helped further Tufts' mission. As I mentioned, it really reframed, it was really the scale that really changed by moving into OCW, a much larger scale model for developing and sharing open material. It really helped push faculty awareness on developing open resources, and helped us share many of the educational practices more globally, particularly through the consortium. And certainly it helped increase the visibility of Tufts. We're doing a lot of work in the health sciences, but this was a very visible venue that helped promote the work that we were doing in health sciences, education, and technology, and also pushed awareness of the range of OER at Tufts. And I just wanted to end with how we feel that we've contributed back to the OCW activities. I think by becoming both a founding member and also a charter sustaining member, really adding another institution to join as MIT was starting to move the concept outside of MIT. I think it was important for a number of institutions to jump on board early on. And as Larry mentioned, we were able to offer complementary content. Our health sciences, particularly medicine, veterinary medicine, dental medicine, and nutrition, as well as our international relations, were all areas that MIT did not yet offer. So that was something that we could contribute immediately. And then thinking about how different tools could interact with the content, and maybe we can talk more about that in the question period. But I also wanted to mention VIEW, the Visual Understanding Environment, which is a concept mapping tool, which is open access. So the tools that would allow users to manipulate the content that they were sharing. And I think by creating explicit links between OCW and other OER projects, it's mutually beneficial, because we're able to, people who come into our other OERs, we can then track them into OCW and vice versa. So I think we're able to bring different users into the OCW family. And then finally, whenever we're participating in global health activities, we've been helping other institutions develop their infrastructure to develop training programs more broadly, both at a regional scale and national scale. And we actually have been incorporating into those partnerships, asking them to share some of the content they're developing in OpenCourseWare. And we've been gratified that faculty always agree. And so from some of these initiatives, we've actually had our partners in India and in Africa already sharing content with each other. So there's this south-south sharing that does not involve us at all. And I think it really epitomizes what I think we hope to get out of this, which is each of us, working on our own projects, sharing what we know with others, as MIT shared with us. We are able to pass that on to other institutions, and they in turn are sharing it with others without our help. So just delighted to be here and look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here, and thanks to the consortium for having me on this panel. My name is Pedro Aranzadi. I'm Managing Director for Universia in Spain, and I'll try to explain a little bit what this is about. Universia is a corporation that was founded in year 2000 by a bank and financial institution in Spain, Banco of Santander, and some 30 universities back then. Right now, the corporation belongs to this one bank and more than 1,200 universities in 23 countries. The fact that we are a corporation doesn't mean that a bank wants to make money out of us. I can think of a couple better businesses than Universia. But is there a way of telling us to think about products and services that someone is willing to pay for, and that'd be the best way to know if we're doing good. As I say, we were born in the year 2000, and we've been working for the past 3 years in 4 strategic lines that have to do basically with employment of the students, first employment basically, education, something we called the observatory, which is trying to find out what the higher education is going to, and social networks. And our mission is to act as an agent for the promotion of change and innovation, to help universities develop their, joint projects. And we also try to act as a link between the university community and the business and the regulatory environment in order to create new opportunities with sustainability criteria. Our history, as I say, we were founded in the year 2000. We have over 1,200 member universities, and we try to boost several things. OpenCourseWare is one of them, but we do all sorts of stuff, from the publication of academic articles through our indexed academic journals. As I mentioned, we try to help the students to get their first employment, and we just 2 years ago we reached an alliance with an employment portal called Trabajando, which means working. We try to encourage the innovation and the contact between companies and researchers through a portal that we created called Universia. We try to foster the creativity and talent from the university community by means of photography and music competitions. We try to spread knowledge by means of OER library with millions of educational resources, and of course OpenCourseWare. We launched a site in 2005, but we started a few years earlier to work with the MIT. In the year 2001, we came to an agreement with them to translate their courses into Spanish and Portuguese, and we did so for 3 years or so until the consortium was created. That gave us a little headache with our member institutions that asked us why were we translating materials from an institution that didn't belong to the network. So when the consortium was created, it was perfect for us to ask them to put their work where their mouth was. So we joined, and we've helped over 100 institutions to join the consortium, and we've helped these institutions to put up some over 1,000 courses or so. So for us, the OpenCourseWare movement is very, very interesting from the beginning because, first of all, itself is a very interesting project. But for us, it improves our contact with teachers. From the beginning, Universia has worked very well with university presidents. These are easy; it's just a matter of money. And we've worked with students, which are also very easy. It's just a matter of beer. And But teachers are hard. I mean, and you only get one chance to do something with them. So this was a perfect project for us to try to reach them, and we reached some 1,500 or so that have worked in this project. It fulfills our compromise to promote the transfer of global knowledge, of course. It promotes also the internationalization, that's a tough word, for our member universities. It leads them to integrate an Ibero-American network that works for the innovation and use of new technologies in teaching environment. And this portal we created in 2005, and which we translated into 14 languages, and we put it up on the internet in a way by which, when you search Google, there's always some result from us in the first page. So it helps to spread the knowledge about what our member universities are doing. And it establishes us as an Ibero-American leader in the spreading of open knowledge. So what we've done is basically, we started in year 2001 by translating. We came up to 100 courses or so. And as of April 2011, our member universities have published 1,400 courses by 111 universities that are members of the consortium as of April. As I said, this platform is translated into 14 languages. We positioned all this work in Google and other search engines. We've been a member of the board for 1 year, I believe it was, and I think what helped us a lot to get what we are at, where we are now, is we've had 4 editions of an award with the Ministry of Education of Spain to recognize the work of professors, and I think this is the really, professors are not about money, neither beer. They're about recognition. So I think this is the best thing we did. These awards that now the consortium is also doing. So this is it. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yoshimi Fukuhara from JOCW. And first of all, I would like to express a sincere appreciation for warm words and encouragement. As you know, we had a very terrible disaster, the huge earthquake and tsunami followed by on March 11, and just after that disaster, many persons gave us the warm words, encouragement, like from our colleagues and friends, like the Yosam Kim from Korea, OCWC, gave us the URL of the YouTube that many students got together to the soccer stadium and prayed for the Japan and said their encouragement words. Thank you very much again. And let me explain our history and the current situation in Japan. First, I'd like to say congratulations, 10 years of MIT OCW. And JOCW, we are very pleased to share this historic time and place with all of OCW global community. History first. As you know, the MIT started the OCW activity with 500 courses in 2003, and as the Shigeru Miyaga said, from that time, MIT made the global promotion of the OCW to bring out of the MIT to spread out the globally. And in Japan also we had a promotion in 2004. We had a first workshop, OCW workshop in 2004 in Tokyo. That is the formal first activity we had in Tokyo, we had in Japan. And then after the workshop, some universities had a meeting, discussed each other in Japan, and 6 universities decided to launch OCW simultaneously. This is a historical picture. It's a real that became the one page of the history because no one remains as a president. All of the president of the 6 universities sit in line and had a joint press conference. It's the May 13th. And that is the real date that our 6 universities OCW site has been launched. And after that, 2006, we changed our closed organization to open consortium, JOCW, and had a first OCW, maybe it's the international OCW conference, but it's similar to the global OCW. Maybe first one we had outside US. We had Kyoto. Maybe some of you came to the Japan, second, Mary. And after that, our consortium grew. And first, we had a fortune and misfortune at the beginning. First one is why could top-ranked university, the 6 universities firstly OCW launched is the 6 of the top-ranked Japanese universities. And why could top-ranked university could launch OCW simultaneously in 2005 in Japan? Because at that time, top executives of many universities had the same sense of crisis that Japanese universities had been much behind regarding utilizing IC technologies for higher education. And next one, why JOCW could be organized as a consortium so early in 2005? It is our real story. At first time, all of the Japanese university aimed to join the global, this kind of the OCW consortium in 2005. But unfortunately, it's in some sense it's unfortunate, but unfortunately, its establishment had been postponed. So we need some sort of organization to handle all of university in Japan. So we decided to launch consortium in Japan first, before the global consortium. This graph shows the number of members. First, we start with the 6 only universities. And currently, at the present, the number of universities is 23 and 4 NPOs and 16 companies are joined. So totally, we had 43 organizations in JOCW. This is a list of the universities over JOCW members. and the board is the board member. And NPOs and some companies, some of the companies are the world famous huge companies like NTT Docomo or Asahi Shimbun, the press company, and some companies related to internet business or mobile carrier, NTT Docomo and SoftBank. And we opened the door to the private sectors. The reason why is the most important thing is we have to make sure of our financial structure. Maybe GeoStable is the very few exceptional organization that haven't had the grant fund from foundation like Hewlett. Of course, we don't refuse the fund or donation, but maybe unfortunately we haven't had opportunity to get that so far. So we have to get the money from the private sectors. That is the reason why we opened the door to the private sectors. One of the reasons. And then the other reason is which there should be the content infrastructure for lifelong learning in the future. So we should we should welcome. We must welcome the companies as their member of the OSHIDARI community. And university expects more students from the over 18 years old. In Japan, the very few percentage of the over 18 years person as a student of the university. Maybe in the Western country, 30% of their students are maybe 20 or 30 or some the other person. But in Japan, less than 20, maybe 10% or something. So in Japan, maybe we have to, most of the university want businessmen to be their students more in the future. That is the reason why we at the university have to make the advertisement for the to the businessmen or housewives. That's the courses we distributed. First, we start with the about 160. Right now, the 1,800 and more. This is the total number of monthly visitors to all of the GeoStable members. About 500,000 are coming. And we had a bi-monthly board meeting in Japan as a GeoStable's board meeting. And we hold a technical seminar and providing information through the GeoStable website. And we also have the all members meeting biannually. And we had made opinion poll annually since 2006. We made a poll for the 1,200 people using the internet research function provided by the internet provider, and promotion and recruitment of new members. This is the one result of the opinion poll. The question is, how do you think about this activity? The result is about more than 90% said good or very good. And this is the another question. Have you ever been aware of those universities, these members, opening up of their lectures? Unfortunately, very few numbers, or almost 30%, only 30% knows our activity. As the remaining 70% are not aware of OCW in Japan. It's the one issue we had to overcome. How can we promote? How can we make the more person aware of this activity in Japan? Thank you. Thank you very much.
As you can see, I'm not Dr. Thunden Wang. Unfortunately, Dr. Wang had planned to attend the conference, but at the last minute he couldn't attend, so he'd asked me to present on his behalf. CORE was formed in September of 2003, and with the help of MIT, Hewlett Foundation, and the IET Foundation, it developed into a very successful program. Now, the IET Foundation is a nonprofit foundation founded by Dr. Wang and his wife, and it predated the formation of CORE for about 10 years. And over those 10 years, the IET Foundation had awarded about 4,000 scholarships to deserving students and young professors in China. And an interesting note is that a couple of the young professors in China that received these scholarships are now university professors at universities in the CORE network. There were some individuals that had made really important contributions to the success of CORE, and we'd like to recognize them. They were Mike Smith, Kathy Casserly, Dick Yu, Hal Abelson, Ann Margulis, and of course, Dr. Wang, and Beijing Jiaotong University, which hosted CORE for a number of years in its early years, and the Chinese Ministry of Education for all the support that they provided. Over the years, CORE had recognized the contributions of individuals, and here are just some photographs taken in China, awarding certificates or plaques of appreciation to the people that assisted in the development of CORE. And you'll see in the lower left hand, on the far left, is Dr. Wang. CORE's mission is to promote the quality and equality of education. That is, not just provide good quality content, but also try to get the content into the hands of the underserved in the Chinese market. Also, it's to expand the use of international OCW in China, to share translated Chinese quality courses globally, and to promote the sharing and educational resources among educational institutions in China. And all this is to complement traditional education. There's always a concern in China that you're trying to take away power or take away the strength of some universities. And this, we're trying to impress in the Chinese market that this is all complementary to established educational institutions. CORE's accomplishment over the years has been to expand the sharing concept of OCW in China. When Dr. Wang first presented this concept in China, people just couldn't believe what's the punchline? Why is MIT offering these courses for free? There had to be something else, maybe propaganda slipped into the courses somewhere or something. But that's changed, and now there are a number of universities in China that are actually offering their own OCW content. We have 100 member universities within the core network. We have over 10,000 OCW courses with 10 mirror sites throughout China to provide easy access and download capability of content all over China. And as I mentioned earlier, more universities are actually publishing their own OCW content, which is really a dramatic change, because universities, when Dr. Wong first approached them, were really reticent to even take the courses, and wondered what the underlying reason for providing all the open courses for free. And we're initiating CORE as a sustainable OER institution, that can sustain financially on its own operations. Some current trends in China. There's a dramatic increase in interest in video OCW courses, because as we know that some of the content in the OCW content may just be bibliographies or short descriptions or narrative, and there's a great interest in video courses. As I mentioned earlier, some OCW courses are now being done by Chinese universities like Peking and Fudan University. Some schools are changing into, quote, open universities. China Radio and Television University is now referring to itself as China Open University. And now universities individually and jointly are going to the Ministry of Education and other sources within China for funding to produce and offer OCW courses. What we see in the future. We see, and CORE sees that they're looking at certificate courses that use OCW content and provide supplementary services that support the student and that recognize their achievement in the form of a certificate. The certificate is, again, complement to traditional education, but it provides a recognition that the student has achieved a certain level of understanding of a subject. And later tomorrow, the certificate program that CORE is developing will be explained and discussed in a session tomorrow afternoon. There's interest in integrating Chinese OpenCourseWare with localized, translated international OpenCourseWare. And CORE wants to continue to be a leader and facilitate the expansion of sustainable open education in China. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right. We do have a few minutes for questions before we break and go on to our poster sessions. We heard some really wonderful stories about how OpenCourseWare is fitting in with the missions of very different institutions from around the world and what they've done with it so far. But I'm going to ask a question before opening it up to the audience, and that is if any of the other participants would like to comment on how OpenCourseWare will fit into the futures of your institutions. How do you see it evolving in the next 10 years?
I guess I can start addressing that. That's the $10 million question. I think none of us have a crystal ball, but I think that it's very clear that the learners of today are very different than they were even 10 years ago. What they're demanding, what they're expecting when they learn. And so my background is actually as a physician, and so we actually tracked our entering students back in the 90s. When we first started doing digital work, we actually had, the students coming into the classes did not own their own computers. And so we actually had to train students how to use a computer when they entered the class. And with every ensuing matriculating class, we tested them. Did they know how to log on? Did they know how to use Word, et cetera? And there suddenly came a year where we did not have to teach a single student. So I said, okay, that's one milestone. And then now, the students come in expecting not only everything to be wired, everything to be wireless, full access to any kind of material. All the lectures are lecture captured, both video as well as sound, so they can get their PowerPoints. They have the syllabus online, all of the e-textbooks, e-journals, discussion tools, on and on and on. This is the expectation of our students. And so the challenge is, how do we as faculty think about this content? And, Tim O'Reilly, I think, is right on in terms of needing to think about course content in smaller units. And so when I think back at, what were the challenges that we had early on, it was taking content that was already digitized, but within our school, the faculty acted as filters of content. And so if you were teaching, let's say molecular biology, there wasn't a particular molecular biology textbook that you would use. The faculty would filter information from multiple sources to present it to the students. Then to take that content and present it as OpenCourseWare, you'd have to strip all of the third-party copyrighted materials out of it before you could publish it openly. And so, looking forward, part of this is training our faculty how to develop content that can be open. So using open sources, first of all, in their development of their courses, so there's less to be scrubbed out. Can they actually design their courses that they deliver to be completely open from the start? So that's one challenge. Another is just all the tools that are out there, and the ones we don't even know about, but we can certainly see what students are using, and they're using anything and everything out there. And we've also moved into mobile applications, and you can imagine, our students off at the hospital sites, and they're at the bedside. They have to look up something quickly. They have to log their patients. They have to track the kinds of cases they're seeing. And I'm sure you've heard about some of the bedside diagnostics that you can do on cell phones. I was actually talking to a couple of MIT faculty earlier today, and including Hal Abelson, and the Star Trek wand over the person. That's actually within reality now. It's pretty amazing what some of the technology is able to do. So, not having the crystal ball, but I think one thing's for sure. Kind of put your seatbelt on. The ride's getting faster and faster. Our students are going to demand much more from us as faculty.
I'll just throw in one other thing, too. I think 10 years may be too short, at least in Notre Dame's case. We deliberate, but as, at least in the U.S., accreditation bodies are pushing us to think more about outcomes as opposed to credit hours as a way we certify whether our credentialing, as the term that Tim O'Reilly used this morning, means something for those students. I think there's a potential then for universities that are traditionally, like Notre Dame, residential face-to-face institutions, that face-to-face time can start to be used in different ways, and that students can demonstrate their achievement of outcomes as a way of certifying and getting credentialed without necessarily always being related to credit-bearing courses. And I think as that happens, then open materials would become more and more important, because a student would be able to sort of plot their own path and get through that as the credentialing systems get in place that would allow us to still have confidence that they are achieving the outcomes that are desired. So I think that is a big potential change. Again, for us, maybe 20 or 30 years might be more reasonable. I just also wanted to mention real briefly, because I always think more about the present than I do about the past, that many of you here may know Terry Bays, who, as an OCW consortium person who you've met, but she was also the founding person in Notre Dame's OpenCourseWare efforts. And the first couple of years when we got all those philosophy and theology courses out there, Terry was the one making all that happen. So she could as easily have been the Notre Dame representative up here if she was still employed at Notre Dame to be giving that talk.
One thing, it might be similar to the America pointed at. Maybe all things are now changing, the lifestyle, and also the many, digital native children or digital native person coming to the university and also in the society. So we have to change to fit to those person, our service to fit to those person. And I think that we have to stick to change our OCW site more learner-centric, user-centered. And right now, this very less learner-centered, user-centered. The no communication, no interactive, non-communicative site. So the first thing we should do is we have to change our OCW site more communicative, more the basic communication site, and including the Q&A and including the social communication, using social media. And of course, more thing, we have to continue to change to fit to the users' lifestyle. We keep the changing. We have to keep changing our site.
Okay. Let's open it up to the floor for questions. We have a couple of minutes.
My question concerns the maintenance of the. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
My question concerns the maintenance of the content once it's on the web. When the instructor changes his or her course, does the content on the web also get changed? And if so, how does that happen?
I'll start. For us, it's simple. We just get new content from the faculty and then just replace existing content. And I think the question for us is what to do with the existing content, the old one, the old version. It may have values, and including courses that got canceled, it has values, and what to do with them. But the process of changing to a new content is not that difficult for us. If we just contact the faculty, and then if there's enough content that got changed, we just process it the way we process a new course. And we trying to make it a 3-year cycle that we go through everything and make sure that thing reflects the current offering. All the publishing content on the site would have a date that the course was originally offered. And then if we notice that things getting old, we would go back and do something. So.
In case of Japan, this depends on the university and depends on the lectures, but the basic policy is depends on the faculty's opinion. If the faculty member want to change to new one, we will change. But basically the old lecture is that's a fact that's made at that time. So the basic policy is still put the original as the original one. But if the lecturer want to replace, we will replace one.
One of the challenges we have, take medicine as an example, medicine curricula across country in the U.S. are changing to what are called integrated curricula. They're getting rid of courses, and so it's more conceptual. And so we've done away with traditional courses, and so again, it's more of a challenge to figure out, okay, how do we replace old courses with new content? And so I think, again, it speaks well to what Tim O'Reilly said in terms of thinking in a more modular way. And so it may be topical, and we have started discussions with faculty in terms of offering on OpenCourseWare a structure. So helping faculty, how do you put together a course? And here is a framework that you can use, and then here's content, here's modular content that you can use to put into that course, however you want to design it. Because what we find is that when our own faculty create content for their courses, they want to be able to pick and choose. They really don't want someone's prepackaged course. I think that there's certainly utility for that, but I think the majority of faculty we've talked to, they actually would prefer to pick and choose. So the idea of having a framework for them to use and then to be able to pull content in and populate it with things from many different open sources, I think may be the way that we'll push in the future.
So I'm from Emory University, and I really appreciated the morning panel on some of the challenges that you talked about, how it took a lot of leadership, a lot of vision to get faculty to buy into this notion that their courses would now be openly visible to the entire world. So my question is now about what I see as the next challenge for faculty, which is now that you made this content available to the entire world, and now that the entire world is going to want to weigh in and give them their opinion on what they think of this wonderful content that your faculty have put on, the next step would be to be receptive of input, of also to agree to admit that there is a value in not only faculty-driven instruction, but also peer-to-peer, learner-to-learner instruction. How do you, and since you had the advantage of 10 years with Open Consortium, how do you think this is going to come about? How is it going to play out? How are we going to work with faculty to convince them that it's okay to get this kind of feedback, to allow other people to be instructors, even though they don't have PhDs on their names?
You. Everyone's looking at me. Yeah, I think that just as with OpenCourseWare, it's finding those early champions and folks who have the courage to try it first. And I believe we have faculty who have already done that in terms of, even though the OpenCourseWare site is not interactive, it's pretty easy to find our faculty, and they can look them up on their faculty homepage. And so our faculty have received feedback, and in general, they've really appreciated it. And they have heard from colleagues, and in some cases have generated collaborations with faculty at other institutions. So, I think that it takes having those handful of faculty try it, see the benefit, and be able to share their stories with other faculty. And I think, I had mentioned our Open.Tufts portal, and a big part of that is just pushing faculty education about what this really means. And so, when MIT started OpenCourseWare, they did a fabulous job of creating a frequently asked questions from the faculty viewpoint. And they shared that with us, and we were able to use that and build on that with our own faculty, because they have the same concerns. You go institution to institution, they have the same worries. And once they see that those worries actually don't come true, and they start seeing the benefits, what are the benefits that can come back to them, they start embracing it pretty quickly.
I'll just throw in too, I think this is one of those areas I often like to separate technology from human interaction and think about how this is already happening for faculty. So our OCW is housed in our Center for Teaching and Learning, and we work with faculty mostly trying to get them to shift toward a more engaged, student-centered model of education, even within their face-to-face courses, which in and of itself opens up the possibility that a student comes up with an idea that's a great idea that you hadn't thought of when you're talking about a certain problem or issue. And what faculty find is they're invigorated by that. And so when you can get them to have that experience, this would just be an extension of that kind of experience. So it's a matter of being a learning community and allowing that kind of invigoration that comes with being challenged to think in ways that you may not have thought before. And that could be a freshman, it could be a person who's visiting an OpenCourseWare site. It's interesting, though, to see how once people have that experience, they resent being put in environments where it's very difficult to create that and have that happen again, because they find that what they had done as routine has become very boring to them compared to those kinds of things. And so what I try to do when working with faculty and in our center, we try to do is connect those experiences they've had already to what kinds of experiences that might come if they were to get feedback, and how they could use that as a positive thing that would invigorate their thinking about their work. So.
Okay, one more thought on that is your question on feedback. So I think our faculties who've been teaching all these courses already get plenty of feedback from their regular students. So I think your question is more on how you can facilitate the independent learners from be able to have somebody answer the questions that they may have. And there can be several models that you can be dealing with that. From if we're doing it within the institution, we can maybe able to use students, let's say doctoral students, as teaching assistant to help with the course. Of course, there's your open study that can help with this kind of facilitation for the community of learners, but not the direct feedback that should go back to the faculty, because for us in the beginning when we start the process, we did sort of promise the faculty that we would not just let anybody from the outside have the ability to contact them and get a direct contact with them. But now, having done this for a number of years, we should look into the next step. And I agree that the next step can be something about this separate community of learners with some kind of facilitators, whether that's coming from the outside or within the institutions.